As is fairly typical with Mary Orvis Marbury's comments in her book, Favorite Flies and Their Histories, there is very little about the fly itself. This is the Grayling Fly, and I was not able to find any information about it. You look up grayling, and there's all kinds of information about fishing for grayling, but nothing about this particular fly, which I am tying from the illustration in Mary Orvis Marbury's book, which was published in 1892. I am tying it on a number 8 sproat hook with claret thread. I use claret thread because I think the head on the fly in the illustration is that color. I'm using gold oval tinsel for the rib. Could use a gold wire as well. Just wrap that in along the whole length of the shank. Instead of talking about the fly itself, Mary spends a lot of time talking about where she got it, that it was sent to the Orvis Company by a man in Michigan who had found one on the Michigan Ausable River and had copied it and had great success fishing for Michigan grayling. And then she spends a whole page plus quoting from Andrew Lang, who would have been a very popular writer of her time period. And I will put a link to a online edition of the article written by, or the essay written by Andrew Lang that she quotes, where he talks about fly fishing and its attraction to him, and I think something that fly anglers have probably identified with throughout the years of fly angling. I'm going to counter wrap the rib, that way it doesn't fall into the cracks between the wraps of the claret or rusty brown dubbing. I generally put 3 wraps over the top of something that I'm tying in, and then tight 3 wraps underneath of it. Go ahead and clip out the extra here. I'm using this brown rooster feather for the hackle. I am going to just clip off the butt end where it kind of changes color and gets more fluffy. I'm going to pull down on the barbs at that butt end, give it a crew cut. So by crew cut I mean just cutting the barbs real close to the rachis here at the butt end. It leaves little tiny barbs that the thread will grab, and then I will tie that in, and I've got a good eye length behind the eye where I'm tying the hackle in and where I will be tying in the wings. If I have a long hackle feather, I can just use my fingers to wrap it, but with a shorter one I like to attach my hackle plier. I have tied this with the shiny side towards the eye of the hook. That will get me started with those barbs leaning back towards the bend of the hook. And then I am going to wrap up over the end of this hackle wrap as well to get these to lean back a little bit more. This would have been fished as a wet fly, since the dry fly craze had not really hit the United States yet in 1892 when Mary wrote her book. Go ahead and let go of that since I've caught it in. And I'm just going to pull back on all of that hackle. I'll pull down a little bit too. And then wrap up over it. And that will also help it to lay down and lean back more in a wet fly fashion, although I am using a rooster hackle that has less webbing in it. But I think that's pretty much the look in the illustration as well. And I'm going to try to split those barbs on the top. For the wing, I'm using this speckled mallard flank feather, and I'm using the darker brown side of it. And I'm going to do a rolled wing, so because these are very fine fibers, I can use quite a bit of this barbing of these barbs. So I'll just go ahead and actually just cut a big chunk out of there. I'm going to grab it, try to get it to even up. And yeah, I want even a bigger wing than that. So rolled is when I just take all those and just kind of roll it together into a clump. But I want more than that, so I'm going to take another piece off of another feather and cutting, or maybe even better to just grab the whole bunch of that and peel it, pull on the feather and peel it. A little bit harder to get it even that way, I think, but I'll try to get those butt ends all evened up. And stack both of those clumps together and roll them. Wetting my fingers helps a little bit to get them to roll together. It's called a rolled wing for that reason. And I don't know if that's the way Mary tied this fly or not. It's not real clear from the illustration how that wing was done. But I'm going to go with that. Get it to kind of lay the right direction on here. And I want those barbs, they can be a little bit longer than the length of the hook. Lay them in on top of the hackle and then just cinch down on them. Go ahead and clip out the butt ends. And just clipping them out a few at a time helps to get them all out of there and try to keep the eye clean. And I'll just wrap up behind that eye and wrap up over all those little ends that I have there. Now, Mary didn't have to worry about trying to keep a clean eye because her hooks were blind hooks. They did not have eyes. Instead, she tied a piece of gut, which is the inside of the silk moth caterpillar, the gland, and its contents that were dissected out and spun, twisted into a strand that was tied onto the hook. Generally, a eye was tied into that down 3 inches or so. In a contemporary twist, I'm going to put a drop of diluted goop on the head of this fly. That is going to dry clear. I'll leave a recipe for the goop in the description below. And then to make sure that the eye is still clean and accessible, I'll pass a feather through it and make sure that it's tippet ready.